You have ideas, so many ideas, stories you'll never write, art you'll never make, projects you'll never start. And every time you sit down to create something, you feel it, that tightness in your chest, that voice that says, "Who do you think you are?" You tell yourself it's procrastination, laziness, bad timing, but Jung understood what's really happening. You're not afraid of failure, you're afraid of what creation will reveal about you. Because creation isn't just making something, it's exposure. It's taking the invisible world inside you and making it visible to everyone else. And the moment you do that, you lose control of how it's seen, how you're seen. This isn't about skill, it's not about talent or time or confidence. It's about the fact that creating something means becoming something, and most people would rather stay hidden than risk being truly known. This is the psychology of why most people are afraid to create, and what it costs you to keep that fear alive. Jung believed that every act of creation is an act of individuation. When you create, you're not just making something external, you're externalizing a part of yourself that's been hidden, and that terrifies people. Because the moment you put something into the world, whether it's a painting, a song, a business, a piece of writing, you're saying, "This came from me. This is part of who I am." And now it can be judged, rejected, ignored, misunderstood, mocked. The fear isn't about the work being bad, the fear is about you being bad, because if your creation is rejected, it feels like you've been rejected. If your work is ignored, it feels like you don't matter. If someone criticizes it, it feels like they're criticizing your soul. So you don't start, you keep the ideas inside where they're safe, where no one can touch them, where they can stay perfect and untested and yours. But here's what Jung saw: the longer you keep your creativity locked inside, the more it turns against you. It becomes bitterness, envy, resentment toward people who do create, regret that quietly grows louder every year. What looks like self-protection is actually self-abandonment, because the part of you that needs to create doesn't disappear when you ignore it, it just rots, and eventually it takes you with it. Most people weren't born afraid to create, they were taught. Maybe you drew something as a child and someone laughed, maybe you sang and were told to be quiet, maybe you shared an idea and were called unrealistic, stupid, too much. Maybe your parents valued stability over imagination, practicality over play. Maybe they said, "Art isn't a real career, focus on something useful, stop wasting time on things that don't matter." So you learned creation is dangerous, it makes you vulnerable, it invites judgment, it proves you're not serious, not smart, not enough. And the world reinforced it. School didn't reward imagination, it rewarded obedience. Workplaces didn't celebrate originality, they celebrated efficiency. Social media didn't honor depth, it rewarded performance, virality, the appearance of creativity without the risk. You learned that being creative means being seen, and being seen means being exposed, so you stopped creating and started consuming, because consuming is safe. It doesn't require you to risk anything. It doesn't ask you to stand for something that might be rejected. But Jung would say, when you stop creating, you stop becoming. You stay frozen in the identity you inherited instead of building the one that's actually yours. And that's not safety, that's a lifetime of suffocation dressed up as responsibility. Here's what creative fear looks like in adulthood. You have notebooks full of ideas you'll never execute, folders full of half-started projects, a list of things you'll do someday that keeps getting longer while your life gets shorter. You scroll through other people's work and feel that sharp twist of envy, not because you want what they have, but because you're not doing what you know you should be doing, and their courage is a mirror you can't look at directly. You say you don't have time, but you have time to watch entire seasons of shows, time to scroll for hours, time to overthink, overplan, and research yourself into paralysis. You tell yourself you're not good enough yet, that you need more training, more experience, more certainty, but deep down you know there will never be a moment when you feel ready, because readiness isn't the issue, visibility is. You're terrified that if you create something, people will see you, really see you, not the curated version, not the safe version, the real version, messy, uncertain, unfinished. And what if they don't like what they see? What if they laugh? What if they ignore you completely? And that confirms what you've always feared, that you don't matter. So you stay small, you stay hidden. You keep your gifts locked in your chest like secrets no one's allowed to know. And every year that passes, the weight of what you didn't create gets heavier, until one day you realize you've spent your entire life preparing to live instead of actually living. Jung would point to the shadow here, the part of your unconscious that holds everything you refuse to acknowledge. For the person afraid to create, the shadow holds the artist, the maker, the visionary, the part of you that knows you have something to say and is furious that you won't say it. And because you won't integrate it, it leaks everywhere. It leaks as bitterness toward people who do create. You scroll past their work and think, that's not even that good. I could do better, but you don't. You just criticize from the safety of invisibility, where no one can ever judge you back. It leaks as perfectionism. You tell yourself your work has to be flawless before you share it, but perfectionism isn't about standards, it's about control. It's a way to never have to risk being seen, to never have to find out if you're actually good enough. It leaks as envy. You watch others succeed and feel that sharp, ugly feeling you don't want to admit, not because you're a bad person, but because their courage is a mirror showing you your own cowardice, and mirrors don't lie. It leaks as regret. Late at night, when you're alone and the distractions stop working, you think about all the things you didn't make, all the years you spent preparing instead of doing, and you wonder, what would my life look like if I'd been braver? The shadow doesn't punish you for not creating. It punishes you for pretending you don't want to, for lying to yourself about who you are and what you're capable of. And the longer you lie, the louder it screams. Here's what happens when you spend your life refusing to create. First, you lose your aliveness. Creation is how you metabolize your inner world. It's how you process emotion, confusion, pain, beauty, meaning. When you stop creating, all of that stays inside with nowhere to go. You become numb, flat, a ghost in your own life, going through the motions of an existence that doesn't feel like yours. Second, you lose your identity. You become the person who used to want things, who used to have dreams, who used to believe they had something worth saying, but now, you're just someone who gets through the day, who's fine, who's practical, who gave up on the parts of yourself that made you feel alive because it was easier than risking rejection. Third, you lose your time. You think you're protecting yourself by waiting, but you're not waiting for the right moment, you're waiting for a version of safety that will never come. And while you wait, years pass, opportunities close. The person you could have become stays locked inside the person you're too afraid to be. Jung said it clearly, the creation of something new is not accomplished by the intellect but by the play instinct acting from inner necessity. The creative mind plays with the objects it loves. But you stopped playing, you stopped loving the act itself. You made creation about outcome instead of process, about validation instead of expression, about proving your worth instead of simply existing. And now you're trapped in a life where nothing you do feels like it came from you, where every day is a performance of someone else's script, where the only thing you're building is the prison you'll die in. Here's how you start creating again, not from ego, but from wholeness. Stop calling it selfish. You've been told that focusing on your creativity is indulgent, impractical, a luxury you can't afford, but creation isn't selfish, it's generative. It's how you contribute something real instead of just consuming what others made. The world doesn't need more people who are practical and dead inside, it needs more people who are alive. Separate creation from outcome. You're afraid to create because you've tied it to success, to being good, to being validated, but creation isn't about outcome, it's about process. Make things because they need to come out of you, not because they need to impress anyone else, not because they need to prove anything, because they're part of you and keeping them inside is killing you. Start before you're ready. You will never feel ready, you will never feel certain, you will never have all the skills, time, or confidence you think you need. Start anyway, make bad work, make messy work, make work that embarrasses you, because the only way to become a creator is to create, and the only way to find your voice is to use it badly first. Stop waiting for permission. No one is going to give you permission to make what you want to make. No one is going to validate your vision before you prove it. You have to give yourself permission. And that means accepting that some people won't understand, some people won't care, some people will judge you, and that's not a reason to stop, it's proof you're making something real. Recognize that visibility is the price of aliveness. If you want to feel alive, you have to risk being seen. You have to risk judgment, rejection, misunderstanding. That's not a flaw in the process, that's the process. The moment you accept that, creation stops being terrifying and starts being inevitable, because you'll realize hiding was never protecting you, it was just making you disappear. Here's the truth Jung understood, but most people spend their lives avoiding. Most people die with their gifts still inside them. They spend their entire lives preparing, researching, planning, waiting for the right moment, the right skills, the right level of confidence, the right amount of certainty. But the right moment never comes, because the fear isn't about readiness, it's about exposure. It's about being seen and not being able to control the outcome. And so they reach the end of their lives and realize, I had something to say, I had something to make, I had something to give, and I kept it hidden because I was afraid of what people would think. Jung understood this. He said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But you can't become who you are by staying hidden. You can't individuate by keeping your inner world locked away where no one can see it. You can't become whole by refusing to let the invisible parts of you take form. Creation is how you prove to yourself that you exist, that you're not just reacting to the world, you're adding to it, that your life isn't just a series of safe choices, it's a statement. The fear will never go away, but it's not supposed to. The fear is part of the process. It's proof that what you're making matters, that it's real, that it's you. So stop waiting, stop preparing. Stop telling yourself you'll do it someday when you're braver, smarter, more talented, more ready. Start now, make something, anything, not because it'll be perfect, not because it'll be successful, but because the part of you that needs to create is dying every single day you don't. And that death is quieter than failure, but it's permanent. You've spent years afraid to create, and maybe that fear kept you safe. But it didn't keep you alive. The question isn't whether you're talented enough, smart enough, ready enough. The question is whether you're brave enough to let the world see what's been inside you all along. Jung believed that individuation requires risk, that becoming whole means bringing the invisible parts of yourself into the light, even when you don't know how they'll be received. So here's your choice. Keep your creativity hidden and stay safe, or create something, anything, and finally find out who you actually are. The fear doesn't go away when you start, but the regret does.